The medieval period is from 5th century to 14th century, roughly 1,000 years of age is called as medieval period. Some people say 6th century to 13th century, but from 6th century to 14th century, it is called as the medieval period. The medieval period has certain important characteristics. The medieval period is known as Dark Ages. It is known as Dark Ages because people lived with so many blind faiths, unscientific assumptions, and superficial, supernatural beliefs likewise. So, this is one thing where the research and science were not developed in these ages. That's why the advancement of human civilization in these centuries was a bundle block. That's why these centuries are called as the Black Ages or the Dark Ages. That is the first thing. Secondly, the medieval period has religion and politics interlinked. Religion and politics are interlinked in these periods. That means politics is considered as part of religion. The religious laws guided the people. The religious assumptions only were pervading in all the societies, may it be European societies or West Asian societies or the Asian societies. It is a religion that influenced all walks of life, including politics. The politics was influenced by religion, economy was influenced by religion, the society was influenced by religion, education was influenced by religion, culture was influenced by religion. So, this is how religious influences were more rampant during the medieval period. This is the second important thing. Thirdly, during the medieval period, in most of the European societies, the monarchical forms of government was prevalent. And on the above level of monarch, the Pope was controlling all the royal affairs and all the administrative matters, political matters are controlled by the Christianity in Europe. The influence of Christianity was very rampant in these societies. Pope was a de facto sovereign during the periods. This is the third important aspect. And fourthly, medieval societies have a peculiar economic system called feudalism. Feudalism is nothing but landlordism. The status and respect of the people in the society are determined by the amount of land that they are owning. So, this is how land ownership is the basis for all the dignity, respect, status of a person in the society. This is an important aspect. And likewise, the feudal lords were very powerful, that they used to maintain private armies and they used to render the army services to the crown or the monarch. So, the monarch, on the other hand, has no autonomy. From the above, he was influenced by religion. From the below, he was influenced by feudalism. This is how he is hand tied. He was hand tied and he has no autonomy for himself to undertake any administrative matters. So this was the situation in medieval period. These are the characteristics of medieval political societies. The first one is they are dark ages. The second one is the influence of religion was very rampant. And thirdly, these societies have a culture of blind faiths and superstitions. And fourthly, feudalism was pervading in all the societies. of Europe. And fifthly, monarchical form of government was prevalent in almost all the societies. And lastly, the kings were not autonomous. They were controlled from the above by the Pope and from the below by the feudal lords. So this is how the European political system during the medieval times have certain characteristics. And as we have already known, the medieval political thought is influenced by Christianity, and Christian political philosophers such as Saint Augustine, Saint Thomas Aquinas, they tried to separate religion and politics, and they used religion and tried to bring some autonomy to the state. And during the medieval times, there is one question that was very profusely debated in all the societies. That was, which is superior? Is it the church or the state? State is a political institution, church is a religious institution, and many people believe that church control the state and church is superior to the state. Even among the medieval periods, there are three phases. On the early medieval phase, people used to believe that church is superior because church caters the needs of the people in this world and also the other world after the death. So this worldliness and other worldliness are controlled by the church. So this is how church was superior according to some philosophers in the early medieval period. But in the middle of the medieval periods, people used to believe that church and state are same. Church is a religious institution. Likewise, state is a political institution. State provides law and order in the society. It provides economy. It maintains the markets and it does welfare to the people. It protects the lives, liberties, and properties of the people. So, state is very important. Without state, human survival is at stake. And likewise, the church is also very important because it provides the needs, it caters the needs of all the people of this world and other world. So many political philosophers used to believe that church and state are not superior but equal organizations. But in the far end of the medieval period, political philosophers started thinking that state is superior than church. So in the beginning, it is believed that church is superior to state. In the middle, it is believed that church and state are equal. But in the fag end of the medieval period, it is believed that state is superior than the church. So this kind of a church-state debate was carried out in medieval times, and this is the crux of political thought in the Western political thought, medieval political thought. During this context, two philosophers, one is Saint Thomas Augustine and Saint Thomas Aquinas. These are the two philosophers have written their books and they try to bring autonomy to political science, political thought from religion. Now let us see what are the ideas of Saint Thomas Aquinas. Saint Thomas Aquinas, on the one hand, believed that church is superior, and he also gave equal status to the state. Thomas Aquinas have categorized the law. He wanted the people to be law-abiding. All people should respect the laws. And respect for the laws is one of the important features that any state system require. And that's why he wanted people to be law-abiding, law-obedient. People should be obedient to the state, obedient to the law. And he classified laws into four types. The law is an instrument of the state to maintain law and order in the society, peaceful atmosphere in the society. And law also tries to reduce violence in the society. Law also is an instrument to grow welfare to the society. So law is very important. Without law, human survival itself is impossible. That's why Thomas Aquinas has classified the laws into four types. The first one is eternal law. He categorized the law into four types. The first one is the eternal law. The second one is natural law. The third one is divine law. And the fourth one is human law. There are four types of laws according to Saint Thomas Aquinas. The first one is eternal law. The second one is natural law. And the third one is divine law. And the fourth one is human law. So these are the four types of laws that are there according to Saint Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas believed that law is an instrument in the hands of the state to maintain its sovereignty. That's why he wanted law to be accepted by all the people. And he says people should obey the law. Disobedience to law is deemed to be punished. It is worth to be punished. That's why all people should obey the law. That's what St. Thomas Aquinas says. The first type of laws are eternal law. What is eternal law? According to St. Thomas Aquinas, the creator or the God has created the whole universe. Universe has its own laws. That means the sun, the solar system, the planets, the stars, the asteroids, the planetary system. And this system is run by laws. So this is how all people should obey and adapt themselves to the laws of the universe. So this is called as eternal law. It is called as eternal law because it is permanent. No human interference can change the universal system, the solar system. That's why he wanted all the people to obey the eternal laws. Eternal law is a type of a law in which all the people should adopt themselves to the planetary positions and the rotation and revolution of Earth towards the planet's sun. So this is how sun is the center of the whole universe. This is what many philosophers of medieval period also believed. Of course, in the modern period, it is believed that sun is the center of the universe. This is called heliocentric theory. And previously, some people believed that it is the Earth in the center of the universe. That's called geocentric theory. By refuting the geocentric theory, many philosophers of modern age believed that it is the sun that is the center of the universe. This is called as heliocentric theory. Thomas Aquinas wanted people to observe the eternal laws, the laws provided by the universe, and respect them, not to disobey them, and adapt themselves to the different types of lifestyles in accordance with the planetary positions in the universe. This is called as eternal law. The second one is natural law. Natural law is related to the laws of nature on the earth. On the earth, there are certain creatures. There are botanical creatures, zoological creatures, like trees, likewise the hills and hillocks, the forests, the rivers, the oceans, the mineral deposits, the human beings, all the creatures. So this is called as the earth. This is the part of the nature. So nature created all the human specimens, species. So in the universe, there are so many creatures, crores of creatures. So all the human beings should obey the nature and they should adapt themselves according to the laws of nature. So this is how nature has created four seasons. Likewise, we have a summer season, rainy season, winter season, fall. So these are the seasons. So human beings should respect these seasons and they should adapt themselves to the atmospheric conditions of all the seasons. So, this is the kind of natural law that he has given. The first one is eternal law, the second one is natural law, and the third one is divine law. Divine law means the laws given by the religious text, that is called as divine law. We have so many epics, Vedas, Upanishads. Likewise, every religion has its own great books, the religious books, like the Quran, Bible. In Hinduism, we have Bhagavad Gita. Likewise, we have epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam. So these are the spiritual books that we have, the religious books that we have. And these religious books provide us certain laws. In fact, the very lifestyles of great people themselves become the laws in course of time. So this is how respecting the elders, tolerating the youngers, giving friendship to the friends. These are some of the values that our value system has provided as part of our culture. And this culture, on the other hand, is given by different religions. So by respecting the religion and religious laws and obedient to the religion is called a divine law. This is the third type of law. People should obey the divine laws. The first one is eternal law, the second one is natural law, and the third one is divine law. And the fourth one is the human law. Human law is made by human beings. Human beings have certain legislatures like parliament, assembly, Jilla Parishad. So these are the various legislative bodies we have. And these bodies formulate certain laws. These laws are to be followed by all the people. For example, in India, Indian Parliament makes the laws. We have 28 states, and each state has a state assembly. State assembly has the power to make laws in the state list. Indian Constitution has provided a list, union list, state list, and concurrent list. Based on these lists, the Parliament has certain powers on certain items, and it makes the laws on certain items. And the state assemblies have certain powers to make laws on certain items. And likewise, the local self governments have certain powers. Of course, there are concurrent lists also there. So this is how the laws made by the people's representatives in assemblies and parliaments and people's assemblies are called as the human laws. So, according to Thomas Aquinas, he is a medieval philosopher. He belongs to 13th century, but he has classified laws into very a broad type like eternal law, natural law, divine law, and human law. And these types of laws that are provided to the humanity and law obedience, obedience to law is considered to be one of the important characteristics of the political system. And the political system provides the laws, and people have to accept the laws. This is called as law obedience. So, in the medieval political philosophers, Saint Thomas Aquinas is a great philosopher who has given this kind of the classification of laws into four types: the eternal law, the natural law, the divine law, and human law. These are the four types of laws. Now, let us discuss what are the important political features of the modern period, modern age. Modern age is called as an age of renaissance, an age of reformation, an age of geographical discoveries, an age of growing economies and technologies and scientific and technological advancements. Modern age is also an age of science. In this modern age, science and politics play an important role. And religion is separated from all walks of life. Religion is separated from politics. Religion is separated from economics. Religion is separated from the social systems. Religion is separated from public administration. Religion is separated from education system. Religion is also separated from science and technology. So this is how modern period is also known as the age of science and technology. And during this system, certain philosophers tried to give autonomy to the state and they separated religion and politics. This was done by an Italian philosopher called Niccolo Machiavelli. Niccolo Machiavelli is considered to be the father of modern political thought. He has separated religion and politics, he has separated morality and religion, ethics and religion, ethics and politics, likewise. Niccolo Machiavelli is a 15th century philosopher and who is considered as the forerunner of all the political philosophers of modern age. He has written so many books. Among them, an important book is The Prince. Prince is considered as an important book. In that Prince, he has suggested various suggestions for the prince. A prince is nothing but a king, a prospective king is called as a prince. Niccolo Machiavelli has given us certain important aspects. He has given various suggestions to the prince. That is one thing. Secondly, he has also observed the human nature. According to Niccolo Machiavelli, human nature is very negative. Human being is selfish, self-centered, egoistic, and he is always avaricious. And he also wants his self-interest to be gained at every moment, at every context. And he's on context competition with others. And he also gives up morals. Every individual gives up morals for any type of benefit. So this is how he depicted all the negative qualities of a human being. And he believes that human being by nature is very negative. He has given a description of negative qualities to human beings. And such a human being is to be ruled carefully, very carefully by the king. That's why he suggested certain suggestions to the prince. Niccolo Machiavelli, in his book, The Prince, he has written, he has given certain suggestions to the king. The first suggestion is the king should appear to be a very kind, very lovable person, but he must show all his courage, even to punish the people when people are bad, because people are filled with all the negative attitudes. So people have a tendency of involving themselves into antisocial activities and anti-national activities. That's why he says people should be punished. And as long as people are good, the king should also be good. When people started their negative character, they're expressing their negative character, the king also should not wait for it and he should also show all his negative character. This is one thing. Secondly, the king should respect the people's wives, women, and properties. And women and properties are the two things that human beings always vie for. In this context, she has also given us a quotation that men can easily forget the murder of their father, but they cannot tolerate the loss of patrimony. This is the quotation given by Niccolo Machiavelli. He says, all men are good as long as their property is safe. If their property is attacked, if human beings are taken away their property by others, human being cannot keep quiet. He grudge the other person for the whole life. So that's how he says human beings are always tolerant only to the extent of not having any danger to their properties. That's why Niccolo Machiavelli suggested the king that the king should not touch the properties or women of the people. The third suggestion is the king should appear himself like a lion and he should also imbibe the qualities of a fox. So he should appear himself like a lion because he should protect the people from ancient anti-social elements, anti-national elements, and he should protect his kingdom against other countries, other states, the neighboring states. To that extent, he should be very powerful. He should appear to be very courageous, and he should look like a lion. But at the same time, people are not so good in their intentions. People are over intelligent. People have all deceptive qualities. That's why the king should also have the qualities of a fox. Generally, fox is known for its negativity, negative thinking. So the king also imbibed the qualities of a fox. This is the third important aspect that Machiavelli has given. And fourthly, the king should have a solid army. Army is a solid army. With the solid army, the king need to have almost all the community of the state as soldiers. And the army should be changed. They should not have a permanent army. Army should be provisional because the employees who are employed in the army may also not be trustworthy. That's why the army people and the soldiers are to be changed from time to time. So this is also another important aspect, yes. And he says the king should always wage wars with other kingdoms. People respect the king only when the king is victorious in the wars. And Machiavelli says king should provide a conflict situation and he should come out of the conflict successfully, victorious. So then only people support him. The king gets legitimacy for his leadership only from the successes and victories that he gained from the wars that he waged in the neighboring kingdoms. So these are some of they appear to be very negative, but there is some logic within each point within himself. So this is called as the state aggrandizement. That means the maintenance of statecraft and how the state extends itself with wars. So this is suggested by Niccolo Machiavelli to the prince. And Machiavelli also has suggested that religion and politics should be separated. Politics is a separate area and religion should be a separate area. Religion should be a private affair and politics should be secular. Secular means politics should respect all the religions. It should not bent upon only one particular religion. The religion sometimes may even lead to blind faiths. That's why Machiavelli says a secular thinking and secular attitude of the king, of the ruler, only can provide political stability to the state. If the king is leaning towards one particular religion, the people of other religions lose their faith in the king and they may start questioning their the legitimacy of the king. That's why the king should always have equal respect for all the religions. So these are some of the important issues that Machiavelli has discussed on religion and politics. He is the first philosopher to separate religion and politics. That's why Machiavelli is considered as the father of modern political science, modern political thought. Machiavelli belongs to 15th century. He was born in 1469 and he died in 16th century. But all his works are written in 15th century itself. He has also written a book on art of war, discourses on Levi. So these are the important books that he has written. Machiavelli has depicted human nature in a very negative manner. The understanding of human nature in a negative way made him to be cautious, the king. He made certain cautious suggestions to the king. So this is all about Niccolo Machiavelli. And after Machiavelli, we have another important aspect that is Machiavelli is considered as the father of modern political thought. After Machiavelli, we have the social contractist theory. The social contract theory believes that state is created by human mind. It is not created by God. All the medieval thinkers started believing that state is created by God. King is the son of God. Our king is the representative of God. King should follow all the religious laws of various religions. This is all about the medieval political thought. But modern political thought believe that state is not created by God. State is an idea of human mind. And state is created by human beings, a group of human beings. This is the thinking of modern age. So this is called a social contract theory. Social contract theory believe that all the people have made a contract among themselves. They made an agreement among themselves and they have formulated the state. State is the creation of human mind and it is only created by all the human beings. Here, there are three important philosophers who have subscribed to this theory: Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Jean Jacques Rousseau. Thomas Hobbes is a 17th century philosopher. John Locke is an 18th century philosopher. And Rousseau is also an 18th century philosopher. And these three philosophers have subscribed to the idea that state is not created by God. It is created by human mind. It is only the human beings that have created the state. There is no divine interference in the creation of the state. This is the basic idea. On this idea, they have formulated the theory with 6 points. Each philosopher has given 6 points. First of all, human nature, how human being behaves himself in the society. Secondly, state of nature. State of nature means how people lived a life before the state, before state was formed. How people lived in a jungle or in the nature when there was no state, when there was no constitution, when there is no political system, how people lived. This is called a state of nature. And thirdly, inconveniences in the state of nature. What are the inconveniences that forced the human beings to be part of the state, to formulate the state? And fourth one is how state is formed. If there is an agreement between two kinds of people, who are the parties of the contract, and what are the conditions between the rulers and the people on the formation of state, and how people got their liberties and rights. And lastly, how The government has its sovereign power. How the government gets its sovereign power. So these are the 6 points that each philosopher has given. Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. The first point here is Thomas Hobbes' discussion. Thomas Hobbes has described the state, and he says state is a political system which has the sovereign power and it provides the laws to the people. That's called as the state. And he wanted to give details about the formation of the state. That's called as the origin of state. His theory is called as the theory of origin of state. Thomas Hobbes began his theory with human nature. He has analyzed the human nature. Why only human beings require a state? Why not animals? Why not other creatures? For this, he has analyzed the human nature. According to Thomas Hobbes, human being is very negative. Just now we have discussed about Niccolo Machiavelli's human nature. The same human nature almost is given by Thomas Hobbes also. Thomas Hobbes says all human beings are selfish. All human beings are self-centered. All human beings are egoistic. All human beings are aggressive. All human beings are avaricious. So this is what he calls as the negative attitude, a negative behavior of the people. So he has described this in a dark picture. This is called as human nature. And human nature, according to Thomas Hobbes, is very negative. And the second point is state of nature. The first point is human nature. The second point is state of nature. What is state of nature? State of nature means the condition of the people before the commencement of the state, when there was no government, when there was no state, when there was no law, when there was no constitution, when there is no judiciary, or when there is no police. How people lived in the jungles, in the nature. This is called as the state of nature. Some philosophers believe that there is no society at all, there is no civil society during that time, and people lived alone, people lived jungles. So this is how state of nature means the condition of the people in the nature before the commencement of the government, before the commencement of the state, before the commencement of the constitution. When there was no constitution, when there was no government, when there was no state, when there was no law, when there was no police force, when there is no armed forces, how people lived in a jungle. This is called a state of nature. According to Thomas Hobbes, human being is very egoistic, selfish, self-centered, aggressive, and all the other qualities. And with these qualities, human being in a state of nature is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. These are the 5 adjectives that he has used to describe the condition of human beings in the state of nature. All human beings are solitary. Solitary means aloofness, separateness. Human beings have no social life. They live separately from each other. Solitary life, separateness. Second thing is poor. Human beings were poor in the state of nature. When there was no state and government, human beings lived in a very poor life, life with poverty. Why the condition was very poor? Because human beings have so many wants, but human beings cannot cooperate with each other. That's one thing. There was no government to fulfill the human wants. That's why all the human beings were poor. their desires and wants remain unfulfilled because there is no cooperation from other human beings. That's why they remain poor, they remain poverty, suffer from poverty because their wants are not to be satisfied. They cannot satisfy their wants with the help of others. Either they have to satisfy themselves without the help of others, or they should leave the wants. That's why they are poor. The third one is solitary, poor, nasty. Their behavior is nasty. There are no values. There are no respect. There is no equality. So the behavior of the people is very nasty. Solitary, poor, nasty, and brutish. Brutish means they believed only their brute force, their physical force. That means people started believing their physical force, and people always have their force. If they want to have any problem to be solved, they use their physical force. So, physical force is always relative. If another big force comes, he has to surrender. If any lower force comes, he can win over the force. So, this is how brutish people used to be very brutish. They behave like brutes. Brutes means animals. And short. Short means their lifespan is very short. They started quarreling with all the people. There is no unity. The lifespan generally also comes down. So these are the five adjectives he used: solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. So in the social contract theory of Hobbes, there are 6 points. The first point is human nature. The second point is state of nature. And the third point is inconveniences in the state of nature. Inconveniences in the state of nature. Human beings have faced so many inconveniences in the state of nature because in the state of nature there is no government, there is no state, there is no law, there is no police force or armed forces. As a result, they have to solve their own problems by their physical power. That has become a big problem for them. That's why there is a lot of inconveniences in the state of nature due to violence. There is no agency to govern the people and stop the violence. Every strong man used to have his violence against the weak man. So, this is how the human nature is very aggressive and egoistic and selfish. And human beings lived in a very pathetic life in the state of nature. This is an inconvenient part of human nature because human nature is very bad and state of nature, solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, is also become very nasty. And human beings have a lot of inconvenience to protect themselves in the nature. So when people have faced so many inconveniences in the state of nature, Hobbes says they made an agreement among themselves to elect a king. And here he says another important word he says people have the idea of natural justice among them. According to Thomas Hobbes, people are bad, people are intolerant, people are aggressive. In spite of that, there is a good quality among the people. That is, every human being knows what is good and what is bad, what is fair and what is unfair, what is regular and what is irregular, what is just and what is unjust. So people have an idea of natural justice and they can know that whatever the life that they are leading is a very bad life. So that kind of common sense is prevailing in all the human beings. So that is called as the natural justice. The idea of natural justice united all the people, and people come together at one place, and they made a contract among themselves to form a state. As a result of contract, they have elected a king. Here we must not forget, according to Hobbes, people have made one contract. That contract is among themselves. It is not against the king and the people. It is one human being against the other human being in the society. Each against all and all against each. The contract is between each against all and all against each is the contract. So the contract worked here, and as a result of contract, all the human beings have decided to surrender their natural liberty. Till the formation of the state, they enjoyed natural liberty. They could behave in whatever the way they want. So they gave up the behavior, the natural behavior, and they have agreed to surrender to the king. And from now onwards, whatever the rule that the king gives, that only is final. So this is how the king has become supreme, and nobody should question the king. And the fourth point here is sovereignty. Sovereignty means supreme power. Who is supreme? According to Thomas Hobbes, the king is supreme. The king is supreme because king has unchallengeable powers, unquestionable powers. If people start questioning the king, the state will collapse and people will go back to the state of nature. That's why Hobbes says king should not be questioned. King is absolute sovereign. He is a legal sovereign and absolute sovereign. Has all the powers. King should not be questioned. That's why he wanted that people should obey the king. And what are the rights that people got from the king? According to Thomas Hobbes, this is the sixth point. The first point is human nature. The second point is state of nature. The third point is inconveniences in the state of nature. And the fourth point is social contract and conditions of contract. And fifth point is sovereign power of the king. And sixth point is the rights of the people. What are the rights that people get out of this contract? Hobbes has explained in a beautiful way. According to Thomas Hobbes, whatever the rights that king granted to the people is a kind of liberty that people have. That is one type of liberty people can have. People have freedom only to the extent permitted by the king. If the king doesn't permit, people have no liberty. If the king permits, people have that much of liberty. So that means people can have the liberty to the extent decided by the king. That is firstly. Secondly, even if the king doesn't grant, people have one right. That is called the right to self preservation. The right to self preservation or the right to self defense. This is the second type of right people have. What is the second type of right? According to Thomas Hobbes, people always have the right to self defense. In fact, in the nature, every creature has the right to self defense. If its life is in danger, each and every creature fights against the other creature for his own life. So the fight for the survival is called as the right to self-defense. And Thomas Hobbes recognized this. He says people have the right to self-preservation. Self-preservation means people can fight back for their rights. If the king tries to kill the people, people can kill the king. That means their life is more precious than the king. That's why people have given the right to self defense. This is also called as the right to self preservation. So these are the 6 points that Thomas Hobbes has given. The first one is human nature. The second one is state of nature. The third one is inconveniences in the state of nature. And fourth one is social contract and its conditions and what are the parties of the contract. And fifth one is sovereign power, the absolute sovereign power of the supreme monarch. And sixth one is the right to self preservation that is granted by the king. So these are the 6 issues that Thomas Hobbes has given. Now let us see. John Jacques Rousseau, sorry, John Locke. John Locke is the second important philosopher. Thomas Hobbes has given the social contract theory in his famous book, Leviathan. Leviathan is the book written by Thomas Hobbes. In his great book, Leviathan, Levia, Levia, Than, Leviathan. Leviathan is the book written by Thomas Hobbes. And the second important social contract philosopher is John Locke. John Locke has given social contract theory in his great book called Two Treatises on Civil Government. Two Treatises on Civil Government. He says there are two contracts. There are two contracts as a result of which the state and government comes into existence. Again, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke also starts with his theory of origin of state with 6 points. The first one is human nature. The second one is state of nature. Third one is the inconveniences in the state of nature. And fourth one is social contracts and its conditions and parties of the contract. And fifth one is sovereignty. And sixth one is theory of natural rights. So these are the 6 points given by John Locke. According to John Locke, human nature is good. Human nature is very cooperative. Human nature is very friendly. Human beings are very peaceful. Human being always tries to have development in his career. Human being has also have some positive ideas. So this is the positive depiction of human beings. Secondly, in the state of nature, human beings have 3 types of people. People with abnormal abilities, abnormal behavior, people with normal behavior, and people with under normal behavior. Abnormal, normal, and under normal behavior of the people. And Locke says people with abnormal behavior are to be controlled by the government. If these people are not controlled, other people also may take them as models and the whole society become abnormal behavior. That's why he wanted abnormal behavior and the people with abnormalities are to be punished. So this is called as the state of nature. And the third point is, according to John Locke, there are so many inconveniences in the state of nature, more so because of the people with abnormal behavior. That's why people with abnormal behavior ought to be controlled by the state. And fifth one is sovereignty, supreme power. Of course, the fourth point is social contract. According to John Locke, there are two contracts. With one contract, people have made a state. With the other contract, people have made a government. With the first contract, people have made a constitution for themselves and they have structured a civil society with all the political institutions, legislature, executive, judiciary, king with limited powers. This is all called as the civil society. And with the second contract, people have chosen the leaders to lead the government. That's called as government. So the first contract is a permanent contract, and second contract is a temporary contract. So these are the two contracts. That's why his book is also two treatises on civil government. So two contracts are made. The first contract is to make the civil society, and the second contract is to make the state or to make the government. And the fifth point here is, who is sovereign? According to John Locke, the king is sovereign, but he has only limited powers, limited sovereignty, limited monarchy. But people are sovereign. Both people are sovereign and king is sovereign. The sovereignty of king have limitations, but the sovereignty of people are unlimited. The sovereign or supreme power of the people to elect the king is called as political sovereignty. People have the political sovereignty. With political sovereignty, people can pull down the king and elect a new king. And king has only limited sovereignty. King cannot enjoy all his powers without the consent of the parliament. So king is only limited sovereign. It's called limited monarchy. And lastly, John Locke has given natural rights theory. In the natural rights theory, he says all people, by virtue of their birth, get three rights: right to life, right to liberty, and right to property. Right to life, right to liberty, and right to property. These three rights are called as the inalienable rights. You cannot separate the human being from these rights. They are called as the inalienable rights. With these inalienable rights, people enjoy their freedom and people elect the parliament and parliament make the laws. If the king is not interested to respect the laws of the parliament, king can be pulled down by people and they can elect a new king. This is called as the right to rebel. People have a right to rebel. In fact, it is the duty of the government to respect all the rights of the people. The right to life, right to liberty, right to property. These are the three natural rights. If these three natural rights are not respected by the government, when the government fails to respect people's natural rights, people have no option but to revolt against the state and elect a new state. This is called the right to rebel. The right to rebel is part of the natural rights. Right to life, right to liberty, right to property. So John Locke says human nature, state of nature, inconveniences in the state of nature, social contract, limited sovereignty of the monarch, and political sovereignty of the people, and natural rights of the people. These are the 6 points that he has given. So in the next class, we'll be discussing about Jean-Jacques Rousseau. We have only one class remaining. In that class, we'll discuss some of the important questions, and if possible, we'll also prepare some answers to these questions, and we'll do justice for the coming classes. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much. Hello. So if you have any doubts, you can contact me over this phone number 9177087189. So thank you, friends. Thank you very much. Thank you for sparing the time. In today's class, we have discussed the important features of the medieval political thought, important features of modern political thought, and the classification of laws by Saint Thomas Aquinas, and the suggestions provided by Niccolo Machiavelli with his human nature. What are the suggestions he made to the prince? And we have discussed Thomas Hobbes' theory of social contract and John Locke's theory of social contract, origin of state. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much.